Welcome to the New Rugged Order podcast, exclusively on the Hard Knock Digital Culture channel. Now give it up to your host, people, MM2K.
Yo, what is up, people? What is up, people? It is your boy MM2K, and I'm here with your other host of NRO podcast. That is the one, the only, my man, my mother my brother from another mother, Daryl Smock Jr. What's going on, Daryl? How you doing, man?
Yo, what's good, man? I'm doing good, man. You know, it's Tuesday. I feel like a lot of stuff has been happening around the gaming industry, and I feel like we got a lot to talk about today.
Absolutely.
I'm excited.
I had to give you that intro because shout out Cold Blood might be in the chat. My brother Cold Blood, since that he was talking smack while I was doing my Forspoken stream the other day, he was like, "Man, what time do you start?" And I'm like, "Look, man, we start around 2." And I said, "We're trying to accommodate the brother Smock because he's working, man." "Oh man, oh phooey." And then look, he's not even here right now. He's not even here. So. But shout out to Cold Blood. The Cold Blood, man, that's the grumpiest game on earth, man. But that's my brother. I love it. But shout out to everybody.
Man, what time do you start?
You know what I mean? What time do you start, man? It's like, man, I gotta get to work. I was like, oh, okay, all right. But shout out to Cold Blood Sensei. We got a lot to talk about. A lot of interesting conversations. I know you're up to task to it, and we're gonna have a great show today, man. So I want to first start with something that we normally don't do, but start incorporating it here. Smock, what have you been playing the last few weeks?
Oh, a lot of Gran Turismo, a lot of Need for Speed. was playing a lot of. Well, I've been watching my friend play a lot of Forspoken. She is addicted to the game, bro. She. I put her on the game. She don't want to put it down. And then
wow.
I've been playing Destiny 2, getting ready for that expansion, man. I really feel like Lawfall drops at the gonna drop soon. I feel like it's gonna go crazy, man.
Oh, okay.
I feel like it's gonna go crazy.
That's what's up. I've been playing some Division 2, and they majorly messed up in that game.
Messed up.
Yeah, they so Division 2, the way Division 2 works is the base game, like the base stuff that you do in the game, it's kind of boring. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
I mean, it's not bad. I mean, you can like grind and like do certain things and take over control points and all of the stuff. And I mean, that's semi-fun, but the real fun that keeps people coming, like they're dropping DLC, is what they call the global events. The global events switch the game up totally. Like, you know, how you can kill enemies. Sometimes there's a global event to where you gotta shoot an enemy in the leg. You know, I'm just making it up, but you gotta shoot an enemy in the leg 7 times before you can kill them. Like they'll add like these little variables that change the game up. And what they do is, if you do those variables so many times, they'll give you these things called stars, and you can cash the stars in for like elite weapons and stuff like that. So everybody's been flocking to do global events. And normally what Division does is they'll have a global event every other week now. Well, season 11 is supposed to be coming, and season 11 was going to add a whole bunch of new stuff to it, new weapons, new everything, you know, new missions, all this stuff, right? So everybody was expecting that. Well, they had to push season 11 back, and people didn't care at first. They were like, oh, okay, well, whatever. We'll just wait for the next global event. But come to find out that they messed up the game so bad and the reason that they had to push season 11 back, they messed it up so bad they couldn't activate the global events again. So the game is like a barren wasteland. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Nobody's playing it. So it is what it is. They sent out a tweet. They said, oh, we fixed it and we're going to work to get things back to normal, but they didn't give us an ETA win. So I'm done with that game. Besides that, I've been playing a lot of Forspoken. And I'm going to be, what I am going to be getting into, Smock, this might interest you as a former Stadium like your boy. You know, Baldur's Gate 3 is now on GeForce Now, right? Don't know if you were into that game or not, but it's on GeForce Now, and GeForce Now hooked me up with a code, so I'm gonna be playing that this week. So
that's dope.
Yeah,
that's dope. I played a little bit of Baldur's Gate 3. I played like a good hour. I wasn't really into it like that.
Yeah,
it was. It's a very different game to me. Like Elder Scrolls, like kind of like Elder Scrolls. Like I know Elder Scrolls is a good game, and I know it goes crazy, and has a big fan base. It just wasn't my cup of tea.
It ain't your, exactly. Yeah, I can dig it. Yeah, you got to be.
But I know it's good. I know it's good. I know the game is good.
You got to kind of be like into that turn-based, semi-turn-based style. You know what I'm saying? And I'm still into it. But man, the way that these games are made now, you got to consistently stay with them because they get so confusing. Like there's so many layers to them. You know what I mean? And it's hard for me to keep up with them. So no, I can completely understand where you're coming from.
The only turn-based game that I was able to get into was Final Fantasy X. Like back in the day.
Okay, I got you.
PlayStation 2, I think. Yeah, my brother got me into that game. That game was they did really good with that game. I'm not gonna lie, they killed it.
That's probably why, and I would guess Forspoken would probably be more up your alley, opposed to a Final Fantasy game, right?
Yeah.
Okay, got you. Yep, that makes sense, man. That makes sense, and I can appreciate both, but sometimes now these some of these turn-based games, they get too complicated, bro. And I'm like, oh, come on, man. I don't have a degree in pre-calculus. I don't have a master's in pre-calculus. I don't understand what the hell's going on here. All right.
That's funny.
Well, that's cool. With that said, man, great discussions along the way. Hit that follow button, sub us, and also too, if you're someone who wants to join us live, but you're like, oh man, the commercials are a doozy. Don't worry. We re-air this every Wednesday around 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. So just go to MM2K Gaming and we air it there. You know what I mean? But it's better to join us live if you can. All right. That's it. Let's do some. Let's talk about the 500-pound elephant in the room, Smock. Last week we kind of talked, or a couple weeks ago, I'm sorry. We kind of talked about this stupid comparison that was being made between Hi-Fi Rush, and I showed you Hi-Fi Rush for Xbox and Xbox Game Pass, and Forspoken. So for those that don't know the story again, Hi-Fi Rush was stealth dropped during like an Xbox event, and then people were paying attention to sales on Steam, and they were like, "Oh, Hi-Fi Rush is outdoing what's the name on Steam," so they're slaughtering Forspoken. And we said here, we're going to wait until NPD. Now NPD is out, and that's the National Purchase Diary that shows video game purchases in North America. That is PlayStation and Xbox's largest territory for sales.
Right.
And NPD has shown that Forspoken made the top 10 in sales, and Hi-Fi Rush didn't even place. And again, people might say, well, it was in Game Pass, but hold up. A lot of the fanatic fanboys and the zealots were like, even though it's in Game Pass, it's outselling Forspoken. They were trying to make it seem like that Forspoken was a failure. That's right. The point of this. They were making it seem like it's a failure. And now, even though Forspoken landed in the top 10 for sales, you got some pundit zealots that are saying that the sales are weak. And that's even though Forspoken, let me just point this out before I turn it back over to Smock. This is even though Forspoken is one above in the NPD charts, the fastest selling PlayStation game ever, which is God of War Ragnarok, and it's one below Elden Ring, which is one of the best-selling multi-plats, not console exclusives, multi-plats of all time. So now I turn it over to Smock so we can get some reasoning out of all this. And before I turn it to Smock, I just want to say this. I am not saying, this is my precursor before we get into this discussion. I am not saying that Forspoken sold phenomenally. I'm not saying that it was excellent. I mean, if you look at this and you say, well, maybe the sales were not what a lot of people may have expected. Maybe they fell somewhat flat or whatever. I can understand that. But the description that's being used by some is weak and poor. So now I turn over to Smock and I first ask, what does it say about the Xbox business when Game Pass, which that business model has been downgraded from a serious revenue maker to nothing, just something that an extra option they say it is now. What does it say when that game model prohibits the success of a critically acclaimed title like Hi-Fi Rush, but Forspoken, the failure still charts? What does that say to you, Smock, when you have something like that happening?
I feel like what you told me earlier, Game Pass is the sales. You feel me? Because they could get people to subscribe and play for free. But at the end of the day, if you want the game to profit, it needs to be able to sell. So if it can't sell, the company's gonna end up losing money.
Yeah.
And if your game can't chart, that's how you know the game really wasn't doing that well. Like the game was all hype.
Yeah. Yep. Let me ask you another question. Now, in regards to Forspoken, would you consider, even though Forspoken debuted 7th place in the top 10 in the largest region for PlayStation and Xbox, and it charted higher than God of War that just released 2 months ago, and charted behind Elden Ring, one of the biggest multiplats in recent history, do you consider that weak or failure?
Nah. It's one of the 2 biggest games in gaming in the gaming industry right now. Like, you know, those are like God of War and I mean, they're like Game of the Year contenders. You feel me? So, those games are pretty huge. Yeah, I think Forspoken, man, that game, I don't know what's up with people hating on Forspoken like they are, but that's a great game. I'm not gonna lie, like that game is way better than people are giving it credit for. And
absolutely.
I think a lot of people secretly know that. That's why it's been selling so well. You feel me? And people are trying to game off for themselves. And yeah. That Forspoken is a good game, man.
Yep. Shout out to we got Shawnathan in the house. Hey Sean, thank you for coming through. And he dropped he got a mic drop right here. He said, still not bad for a game that was dragged before launch. And I think no truer words have been spoken, in my opinion. This game was eradicated before launch, you know.
Right, they was talking about the demo. Like, the game tried.
Exactly.
The combat, they didn't like the banter. They didn't like the thing. And man, and so my friend's been playing the game. She's played like 6 hours straight one day, and she didn't want to get off the game. She was actually like that. She liked the banter back and forth, and she was like, and she was laughing, and yeah. So she, it's her game right now. Like I told her, this is your game until you finish it. When you finish it, I'll take it back.
I can dig it. Yeah, man. To me, it's silly, and it doesn't make sense to me. But I'm coming to you, Smock, because maybe there's something I'm not seeing. So before I even blabber anything, I still got a couple of questions for you, because again, we're trying to make sense of this, and maybe you know better than I. I want to throw this out here and get your thoughts on it. I think some people may look at this and say, "Oh, MMTK, you're being petty. You're trying to contribute to console wars and all that other stuff." But just hear me out. I think this is important to point out because Xbox is using Game Pass as a main anchor.
Right.
Seems like a failure. It doesn't seem like it's working. Right? It seems like
it's not profiting.
Yeah, it's not profit. Like, number one, they just told you a couple months ago when they sat down with the different interviewers that Game Pass is only going to make up at best 15% of their revenue. That's far less than Xbox Live with Gold, and you know how much people hate Xbox Live with Gold as far as what it's giving them in relation to games. Game Pass is supposed to surpass that, because really they want Game Pass to overtake Xbox Live with Gold, so they don't have to do both. They don't have to have a subscription service, and then they don't have to pay companies to bring games over, right? So that's a failure. Also, it's time for Xbox to stop this budget proposition, which I get it is cool when you think about it. Like, oh, I can play games, a bunch of them, at a fraction of a price, and I ain't got to pay full price for a game individually. I get, on the surface, that sounds cool, but it's not working for Xbox because they're in last place. And then they need to get back into the business of creating fantastic franchises like Halo and Gears and stuff like they did back in the day.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then the media needs to make this pivot easier for them by telling the truth. When the media's out here and they say things, Smock, like I sent out a tweet. I said, help me understand. And I'm gonna show you guys the tweet. Let me do this. I'm gonna pull it up. Hold up. Let me do this. real quick. Oh, come on. Skip for now. I don't want the notifications. Leave me alone. All right. Oh, it just popped right up. Good. You know how we do. Let me show you something. You know what? Let me make it bigger. There we go. All right.
Okay.
I had to come up with a new one. So I sent out this tweet earlier, Smock, and the tweet reads, so a game that charts top 10 NPD, one below one of the greatest selling multiplats of all time, one above the fastest selling PlayStation game of all time, sales are poor, but a game that doesn't chart because of its inclusion into a revenue downgraded subservice did great. I thought the point of having a business was to make money. So if you put this, so even if Hi-Fi Rush got a whole bunch of accolades, what does it matter if A, it doesn't sell a lot individually, and B, it's not boosting Game Pass up for it to be profitable? Like nobody went and said, hold on, stop. Now I got to subscribe to Game Pass and I got to keep it in order to play Hi-Fi Rush. Nobody did that. The people that played it are the people that already had Game Pass. You may have had some people that were interested in the game, and you know what they did? They got a trial access for $1 and then they canceled their subscription. Because that's what they told you they were going to do online. Right. You know what I mean? So based upon all that, Smock, let me ask this. Do you think that the media is doing Xbox a disservice by saying, you know, it's great that your service got a whole bunch of attention, even though it's not making money? Do you think they're doing Xbox a disservice, or do you think that, you know, it's really out of their hands? What do you think? And I mean the media.
About, this is about this. The media.
Yeah.
I think the media might just be doing job. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to say because us and the media don't have a good relationship. You feel me? So I see, you know, like we tend to look at things like a bit closer than an average person would. So like if the average person see it, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, this is probably good for Xbox because it's getting a lot of attention. But the media isn't like it could be doing them a disservice because they aren't talking about the real. You feel me? Like what's really happening. You know. Yeah. Like Game Pass it gathers a lot of attention, you know, but it's not bringing them any. They're not profiting from it, you know.
Exactly.
If they want Xbox to really make some moves and make it better, they gotta bring this to the forefront and, you know, force their hand a little bit and make them realize that they, you know, make them restructure their business model a little bit so they can actually profit. And I just want to say, move on. Shout out to Sonic, man. Sonic tried it. What? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Sonic, yeah, brother. Yeah, Sonic Frontier. And I want to bring that. I'm glad you brought that up because that's another bullet that I didn't put in our notes. But people are going to say, well, because NPD, what they do is what charts on this chart that you're seeing on the screen is based upon dollars. They don't go by units sold. They go by how much money it makes. So people are saying, well, Forspoken was $70 and that's why it charted. Well, here's the thing. Sonic Frontiers, as of last month, I believe it was discounted to $30 as well. And it made number 6. You know what I'm saying? And it made number 6 last month. And it's still at number 12. You know what I'm saying? So like what are we doing? Like Game Pass we're gonna talk about that. Game Pass cannibalizes sales, and it does it for the benefit of the quote unquote money to be earned through Game Pass. But when sales are cannibalized and Game Pass is underperforming, what's the point?
Right.
That's what I need explained to me. And these journalists out here, I think what they want, Smock, it just hit me. I think the reason why that they're doing this, because I'm really perplexed. But if you think about it, if I'm a journalist and let's just say, for instance, I don't get a game code or I don't get the free games, because a lot of these people are doing this for free games. I get it. Guess what? All I got to do is have Game Pass. Now I get access to all the free games.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I get access to all the cheap games on the cheap that I want. It's just I pay the subscription, and whether I really like them or not, I get to try them. That is a big thing for journalists because they want to try and write about a lot of things and create content. You know what I mean?
Get to save some money.
Exactly. So, because you saw it last month, as a matter of fact. Certain content creators, I didn't get a code for Forspoken. I didn't get a code for this, and I didn't get a code for that. And if the day comes to where every single game that comes out is in a subscription service, then guess what? They don't need to fight for those codes. They're going to get access to the game anyway, and that makes life easier for them. So I get it, but it doesn't help me and you, the consumer. People like Smock and I, and Sean in the chat as well, who want good quality games. You get what you pay for. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. You get what you pay for. And if we want good quality, crazy? Go ahead, brother.
Seeing gameplay of Hi-Fi Rush, one of my favorite YouTubers dropped their video on it.
Yeah.
And I seen gameplay of it, and the game doesn't look the game. I know YouTube has this compression and everything, so it doesn't look as good as what it does when you're actually playing. But the game didn't look that bad. It had an interesting story and everything.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I feel like they should have sold the game. Like, it should be, you should be able to have an option to either buy it or get it on Game Pass. I don't think it should just be on Game Pass.
You do have the option to buy it too, but think about it. If it's on Game Pass and are you going to buy it?
Probably not.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean? Are you going to buy it? And again, that would make sense in a world where these top-notch games being in Game Pass, even though sales are being cannibalized, Game Pass is quadrupling because of them. If people said, ooh, I can get Hi-Fi Rush, this makes Game Pass a value to keep, and then I sign up for Game Pass and I keep it for at least a year because of these games, or 6 months, that's different. But if I'm just doing what Jonathan said, and it's up on the stream, he says that's why the rumors about ad tier, games too expensive for the 3 month for a dollar hustle. What he's talking about is people, they call it Finesser X instead of Professor X from the X-Men. They call it being a Finesser X, where they get a box of Pop-Tarts or whatever you can get a Game Pass promo on. They get it for $1 for a month, play the game, beat it, and then they cancel their subscription.
Mm-hmm.
So not only is Game Pass not growing the way that it needs to grow in order for it to be a profitable enough business to where it helps continue the cycle of you pay, games generate a bunch of money. That money goes to all the business partners and it helps spurs bigger games. That's not happening. Look at Outriders too.
Yeah, Outriders. Wait,
look at Outriders. When Outriders came out day and date on Game Pass, guess who lost because of that? People Can Fly, the developers, because that deal was made with Square Enix, and guess what happened? People Can Fly had a royalty deal with Square Enix, meaning their revenue was based upon how many games were sold. So when you can go play it in Game Pass, guess what? Games aren't sold. You know what I'm saying? And that hurts the developers.
It didn't have the Stadia thing where, like, if so many people put so many hours, then that also counts as to like revenue for the developers.
And I'm glad you brought that up. Remember how much slack. For those of you that don't know, let me just elaborate on the wisdom that you in church right now. You in church. Go call your friends. Put something in the collection plate too for me and my brother Smock. But you in church right now. Smock just brought up something that was, oh my God. We got to do a side podcast on this one day. The flack that Stadia got when it dropped this Pro model. Now later, after Stadia closed down, and even Linus Tech Tips came out and said, "No, the developers love Stadia Pro because it was generating a lot of money for publishers and developers, right? Based upon, if not, you just didn't get money up front, you got money based upon your engagement with the game, right? That doesn't happen all the time in Game Pass, and it didn't happen here." Where Xbox went to the publisher, said, who controls what happens with the game, and said, put the game in Game Pass, we'll write you a check. And the publisher said, oh, hell yeah. Because guess what happened? They got the check from Microsoft that they didn't have to share with People Can Fly. And the revenue off the sales, they still got that. But because it hit a ceiling because of Game Pass, they didn't have to pay People Can Fly. Months later, or almost a year later, People Can Fly still hadn't gotten any royalties off the game. A year later, after it dropped. And they still had to hire people to fix the game and create DLC. Like, come on, y'all. What is we doing here?
Crazy. Right. I can see why the development, updates take so long for the game now, because like they're not making no money.
Exactly.
Like besides outside of PlayStation, like making no money. PlayStation and PC is like probably like carrying the revenue for the game.
Dude, it's amazing to see how many people just don't realize how detrimental this whole Game Pass model can be. Now we're going to talk about it in the cannibalization part that's coming up pretty soon. But again, when it comes to Hi-Fi Rush and Forspoken, please understand that you can like Hi-Fi Rush. You can be happy it's in Game Pass, and I'm not going to take that from you. It looks like a cool game for the people that it's for. It's not for me, but I love the visual art style. I love it. The visual art style looks fantastic, but it's not for me. And my issue isn't with Hi-Fi Rush. My issue is you're trying to say that what Hi-Fi Rush is doing is more of a success than Forspoken, when Forspoken is hitting charts. It's profit, it's showing profit. And then we're going to point this out again. Let me just show, I'll show you guys later, but it helps PlayStation in totality, who now has 4 console exclusive titles on NPD. That's more than anybody else this month. More. It just adds more value to the PlayStation, where Hi-Fi Rush got accolades in the 90s, maybe had some good sales on Steam, but it didn't make enough sales to chart, nor did it make enough sales to boost Game Pass. So what's the purpose? What's the point? Any final thoughts, Smock?
About this?
Yeah, or just in general.
Not really. There's a topic that I do want to speak on since we have a platform, but I don't know if you want to talk about what I want to talk about. Is it game related or? Well, the guy is shoot, brother. Yeah, it's game related. Go
ahead, brother.
It's the controversy behind Hogwarts Legacy.
Oh yeah, yeah. No. Go ahead. That's perfect. Because while you're doing that, it allows me to fix this video. I'm such a PlayStation fanboy. I only got PlayStation games showing, so that allows me to fix it. That allows me to fix this. So go ahead, give your thoughts on that, because I talked about that last week. Go ahead, brother.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I gave my opinion, but that was just my opinion. Give your thoughts on it.
Right. So my opinion is, I sympathize with the LGBTQ community about their hate for J.K. Rowling, and who she associates herself with, believe that at this point, with them bullying the developers, when they're bullying streamers, bullying content creators, they're being just as bad as the people that they're trying to spew the hate on, and it's like, it doesn't, to me, it doesn't make, like, I'm all for people protesting, but protesting a title that she has nothing to do with. Yes, she's getting paid for me because she owns Harry Potter, and she owns part of I think she bought one of the development companies or something, publishing companies, so she gets a piece of what the game sells. But as far as the development of the game goes, she has no say so. She had no connection with the development of the game. You feel me? And I feel like it's not right to the players who just like Harry Potter because it's Harry Potter, not because of who made it, but because the world and the universe is interesting and people like wizarding stuff. You feel me?
Yeah.
Like, Exactly what Sean said. If my only issue is if you are gonna go after JK, go after all revenues of money, why pick on the game and gamers? Exactly. When the game and gamers ain't got nothing to do with what's going on with the person. You feel me? Like, it's just weird to me. It's weird, and people are trying to, like, the power of Hogwarts, even with all the hate that they were spewing on J.K. Rowling, that was like, this game sold crazy.
Oh yeah,
this game was like, had 23 million active players or something, like some crazy number like that. I'm like, bro, that's an insane number. Like, and like, and the crazy part is a lot of people that are hating on that are going after JK. I'm not gonna say hating on a lot of people that are going after JK. Nobody is saying anything about how Elon basically does the same thing, but they still use Twitter, and they're using Twitter to vocalize their hate. And he's said to be part of the same group of people. You feel me? Yep. So it's like, it's kind of like it's I don't know, man. I feel like it's a publicity stunt. Could go a whole lot deeper about that, but then I'll probably say things that people really don't agree with. So I'm gonna end it right there.
Yeah, no, you've touched on something that I think a lot of people feel. I want to give a shout out to Mighty Keith on YouTube. He's known as Mighty Keith. He's a content creator who said a lot of similar things when he was, people want to go use Twitter to call other people bad. Meanwhile, the guy that owns Twitter now is the guy that has been, I think, against LGBTQ, who has said things against LGBTQ communities on a more frequent basis than J.K. Rowling. J.K. Rowling, will she benefit financially from this because this is a license of her IP? Yeah, but she didn't create the game. She didn't create the whole idea of this and all this other stuff and how the game works and all this stuff. But I think the most important and substantive thing that you said, Smock, is when you go and attack in a vicious fashion people who just simply don't necessarily don't even hold a position different from you, but want to support something that you don't want to support, I think you become hypocritical. Because isn't the whole point of you being upset with J.K. Rowling is you think what she said was vicious? So because you think what she said was vicious, you go out and you're vicious. Or let me phrase it better this way. You think that what she said was vicious towards people who didn't deserve it, who's just living their life and just doing what makes them happy. Mm-hmm. But you in turn go, and in response, you're vicious to people who are just living their life and doing what makes them happy.
Exactly.
It doesn't make sense. And there's a lot of people, and trust me, I have them in my family. You know what I'm saying? Who want to do these, like Mighty Keith said, these phony protests that make them feel good. They get on the internet, they type a couple of words, or they got this cause, and they'll go and do that. But meanwhile, they won't ban themselves from Twitter. They won't go after her Universal, like they won't boycott Universal because she gets a percentage of all the Universal sales. They won't boycott Legos because God forbid because she gets a percentage of that too. And they won't go after all her other intellectual property gainings from an association to Harry Potter because that takes too much effort. Right. It's easy to just go online, hate on innocent gamers because you thought we were weak. That's what it was. Mm-hmm. They thought we were weak, and they didn't realize that gamers are the most fight back consumers out there. Period.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
they love arguing. They love that.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly, absolutely. And they like what did Kevin Hart say? You learn today, you gonna learn today, and they learn. And I really think that this, unfortunately, set back the discussion in this realm a lot. I think what has to happen with any movement is when you see people that are being disingenuous and trying to use a movement that you've contributed to or that you've put together for positive outcomes. When you see that happening, you got to speak up and say, nah, we're not part of that. That ain't got no, we're not for that. Nope. You're disingenuously trying to use our cause to create mayhem for your own. And there's people that do that. Like, I hate to get too political. I'm just gonna say this real quick. When people were doing Black Lives Matter protests.
Oh my God, you about to talk about what I think you're about to talk about? Keep going.
The black.
I did it.
Yeah, let's do it.
I think I know where you're going.
When the Black Lives, and you had certain people, of non-color affiliations that just wanted to protest and bust windows out. I know because it happened it happened in front of my job. Bust out windows and cause anarchy in the name of Black Lives Matter. And you had Black Lives Matter related protesters that had to stop, like, oh, whoa, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? You guys got it, and the it's on film. Protesters literally came out and had to battle those people. I hate to say, for lack of a better term, that tried to gentrify the Black Lives Matter movement into something heinous. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Something just heinous and destructive. That's what I felt like happened here, and I don't think enough people spoke up against it because they were so angry at J.K. Rowling. I don't know, Smock, did I hit on what you were thinking about or what? Similar.
Okay. It was very close.
Okay.
What I was thinking was, I think not a lot of people paid attention to this, but I did. I seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Same group of people, kind of like what Sean is saying, stuff get hijacked all the time. I'm gonna expand on that.
Yep.
During the Black Lives Matter movement, the same group of people that are going after J.K. Rowling also crippled the Black Lives Matter movement.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you guys seen it, but during that time, they were saying all Black Lives Matter, right? They specifically put in the term all Black Lives Matter to cripple regular Black Lives Matter movement, right? Basically, what ended up happening was that same group of people, within 24 hours of them saying all Black Lives Matter, because for some reason the Black people that are part of that group didn't feel like it pertained to them, or it was some elaborate scheme, was able to get
I get what you're saying.
To get a hate bill passed in under 24 hours, and there's still no hate bill that protects Black people. We don't have a bill specifically for us. And they use what we did with it to gain off of what we were doing.
I get what you're saying.
It's
yeah.
That's the only thing that they've done that I really didn't agree with. Is I don't think they should have did it that way. They should have started their own movement, but since it was Black Lives Matter, they used that as a gateway to catalyze what they were doing.
Well, look, we're gamers and we're people too, and I normally don't get political, but I will say this: I had a conversation with a very close relative, and I was talking about. I was talking to my son, and the relative happened to be there, and I was talking to my son about he was talking about getting a job and some of the things that he had faced on while he was getting a job. And I explained to him, I said, son, don't be discouraged. I said, your dad had to go through this. I said, look, I've gotten all the way up to like VP of my business thing where I'm managing managers. I'm talking to big time companies and stuff like that. And trust me, that's not liked, especially in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is, as a state, is considered one of the most racist states in the country, next to Mississippi. I think there's more Klansmen up here. We're rated number 2 for Klansmen groups up here. So, and again, I'm not applying this to everybody. I'm just letting you know the dynamic of what I've had to deal with. So I'm talking to my son. So a relative of mine came in who's also African American, said, but, well, at least you're not, of LGBTQ, because you're not of LGBTQ. You don't understand what we go through. And I'm like, hold on. Let's not pit. See, you got forces that are trying to pit us against each other. Number one, the first thing someone sees when they see you is blackness. They don't see LGBTQ. They see your skin. Right. So I said, really, this whole conversation is silly. And number 2, stop going against some of these mainstream forces that are trying to pit us. They're always, I feel like, I get what you're saying, Smock. What you're trying to say is that there are forces out there that are trying to conquer and divide the African American community. You're this, you're that, and trying to pin us against each other to divide and conquer, so we don't get anything done collectively as a group. And exactly. I agree with that. I looked at them and I said, hold on. You can relate to what I'm going through too. And yes, you may have your own separate struggles that you're going through, but they matter. But your struggles under the LGBTQ, they don't necessarily have to be separate from something that you suffer as an African American. Why are you trying to separate when we should be together and working together? You know what I'm saying? And
exactly.
And that does happen. That happens. There are forces out there. Look, we can have a whole political show about it. I ain't gonna do it. It's been happening since the 70s. It's been happening since the 70s, where they try to divide and conquer us and create this group and create that group. And it's worked. It's been, I can't blame them. It's been effective. You know what I'm saying? No other community. You can't go to any other community and they get broken down like that. No, we are all this, we are all that, and we're all going to stick together and fight for better. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. So I hate to get political, but Smock hit on something that's 1,000% right. And gamers though said, Smock, you're not going to separate us. Like we may or may not necessarily agree with what J.K. Rowling has said. Like, you started off by saying you sympathize and you get the LGBTQ's anger towards what she's had to say. But at the same token, you're not going to sit there and tell me what I can or cannot buy based off of how you think I should live and do everything that I do. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can you can state your claim, you can state your cause, and we can have a discussion around it, but you don't get to slap my hand and grab the item out of my hand and say, no, because this is how I think you should interact with things of this nature. This is what you have to do. You ain't paying nobody's light bill, nobody's gas bill. You know what I'm saying? You're not calming anybody down from when they come home from work. So cut it out. So, no, great discussion. People may be mad, Smock, but whatever. I'm at the point of whatever now, man. Who could, this is a lot bigger than just this game. There's a lot going on, and I'm glad that you did bring that up, because it just helps. We need to do
a separate podcast because there's a whole lot I want to talk about. We're not going to talk about it, but I just want to mention it.
Yeah.
How over the week, this is okay. Y'all gonna think I'm crazy. Y'all gonna think I'm crazy. But over this past week, y'all seen it on y'all social media feeds, but there have been 7 UFOs that's been shot down over the course of the week, bro. It's insane, and it's video evidence. This has never been.
You know what you got to do, Smart? I gotta get you. Yeah, I gotta get you. You know who does a great show on that? Lo-Fi Monk and SPG. They I forgot this. I think it's called Beyond This World. Well, number one, we gotta get you. We gotta get you signed up to Collab Gaming TV. We gotta get you signed up there. It's a collab. It's a collaboration group of a whole bunch of content creators, and to be part of it. And I should have mentioned that at the beginning. All you got to do is just say, you can add my videos to your playlist. That's it. And what you do is they have different events and things like that. One of the Collab Gaming TV shows is a UFO show, or it's like an X-Files show that Lo-Fi and SPG do. So you might want to. Yeah, I might want to have you talk to Lo-Fi to get more information on that. So,
yeah, I need to hit them up because man, I want to talk about that, bro. That's crazy.
They might have a show. They might have a show. I don't know what your schedule is, but they might have a show this Thursday, as a matter of fact. So, Sean was doing it up in the chat. So let me go. I'm gonna put up a whole bunch of his comments because I think this is important to the discussion. Do the popular click, I stood up for something. Exactly. What else? This is hell. Look at civil rights movement. Absolutely. Facts, y'all preaching. Well, yeah. At least if we can take it off the air, at least we talking the truth. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Before it was colorism, no one wanted to be black. Everyone was mixed. Hey. True. You know what I'm saying? It's look. I was astonished by it when that relative came up there and said, because there are, even as people, you'll find different struggles, and to help get the right outcomes, there's nothing wrong with working together. But when you try to come and say, well, you don't, you're like, stop. And you definitely can't.
Ain't the same as your blackness, because my blackness involves this, my sexuality, and because of this, my struggle is harder than yours. It's like, bro,
please. Chill. I can tell you stories. I can tell you stories.
Right.
I can tell you life-threatening stories. Like, it's one thing. Exactly.
I've seen everything. I've seen everything, bro. I experienced it. I've been through everything.
I could tell you stories of where in the tuxedo, leaving a wedding, being pulled over by the police because I'm black and I'm a male, and it came out to where they almost threatened to shoot us because my one cousin questioned them and said, why are you doing this to us? He made the mistake of saying my dad is a police chief in another city. And the cop put his gun on his hand and said, no, why would you say something like that? Can he help you now?
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That now, again, I'm not taking that over the plight of someone who's having sexual discrimination happening towards them, but that's something specific to me being a black male in a car with other black males that you can't relate to unless you're, so to try to compare, like you said, different issues of blackness is silly. And don't get caught up in that okie doke, y'all. I have these discussions all the time with my family. It's crazy. But beyond the black aspect of it, as gamers, look, man, we ain't gonna play them political games. This ain't Fox News. This ain't MSNBC. You're not gonna take our games from us. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna do it. You're not gonna do it. So, great conversation, man. Great conversation.
Yeah, man. Let's get back to the gaming.
Yeah, let's get back to the games. Yeah, exactly. So with that said, let's talk about January NPDs and just PlayStation in general, man. PlayStation in general has dominated January. I mean, they got some crazy figures out here. I'm about to show y'all right now. You know how we do. Let me show you something. This is Matt Piscatella, the curator of the NPD data. And here's what he had to say. He says PlayStation 5 was the US market's best-selling hardware platform of January 2023 in both units and dollars sales, with Switch ranking second across both measures, which means Xbox ranked third across both measures. We look at NPD and count them 1, 2, 3, 4. PlayStation console exclusives. That's more than Nintendo. That's unheard of. Normally, Nintendo dominates NPD. So, and that includes the failing Forspoken. So even though Forspoken ain't number one, when you look at everything in totality, I see more PlayStation stuff up here than Xbox.
I don't see any Xbox up there.
I don't see any except for Minecraft, which, if you want to count Minecraft, whatever.
The kids game.
Exactly.
But Minecraft is just, that game goes crazy with the children.
I believe I don't know if Miles Morales is in the subscription service. But you have Sony? Yeah, for Sony. But you have Sony games that are in a subscription service that chart NPD as well. You know what I'm saying? It's just that if the game is in high demand, it's in high demand. And you've had Ubisoft, like Ubisoft has Ubisoft Plus. I know it's not as big as Game Pass, but Ubisoft Plus gives you their games day and date, the deluxe editions. You have games that dropped in Ubisoft Plus that charted better than this. That at least chart, rather. Let's just say, it ain't about, if Hi-Fi Rush would have at least charted, then you can say, look, the game is doing great financially, and it's added, and they're able to give an added bonus by throwing it in the Game Pass. Then you could have something to say is good. But there's nothing good about it being in a failing subscription service and it not making enough money on its own fruition. So that's it. There's another link I got to show you guys, and then I'm going to turn it back over to Smock, and we're going to get his thoughts on some things. Here it goes. This is from Benji Sales. January, PlayStation in the United States, again, both revenue and units was the best. It's the number one platform in UK. It's up 98% year over year. And this the number one platform in Europe. Check this out. It's up 202% year over year. So in the three main markets for Xbox and PlayStation is dominating.
They figured out the chip shortage, man. They figured out the issue.
Well, Smock, I'm glad you brought that up. You wouldn't believe that now there's some of the Xbox zealots out there, the fanatics, that are trying to say that the reason why Xbox is doing horribly is that because the Series X is hard to find.
No, they're not. No, it's not.
Exactly.
No, it's not. They're everywhere, bro.
Yeah, they're not in as much supply as the Series S, but that's because Xbox decided to pump out more Series S's than X's. Why? Because the X must not be selling that well.
People don't want to pay that much for Xbox.
Exactly.
And,
Thank you. Yeah,
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Now, I was going to say, if Xbox's biggest thing, Smock, is that they're a value console, why would I pay a premium price? I just want to get access to Game Pass, right?
Right.
So the Series X isn't selling well. But go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, damn, I should have said that because I forgot. I was going to say, yeah, when it comes to Xbox, it seems like the Game Pass model taking effect with everything. Like you said, if they can save some money, they're going to save some money. Yeah. So now, since not everybody wants to buy the X, everybody can just get the S. And even though S is clearly the worst choice because they don't have that, because they don't have 4K, I think, and they don't They like their stuff is like this console is a lower resolution. It's basically like an upgraded Xbox One or whatever. People on Microsoft just wants to save money. And then again, on top of that, they don't have any games. Even like they do, but they don't.
Yeah.
They do, but they don't. They don't have system sellers like Sony does. Sony has people like the thing Xbox, I think, realize they're trying to pump out exclusives now is exclusive sells consoles. That if all their games are multiplayer, if their best game is a multiplayer game, or if their number one game, is available pass, which you can play on PC. There's not a lot of reason to get to buy the most expensive Xbox because a lot of their games are because they don't have any system sellers. Like they don't have like
exactly
like Halo flopped. The only thing that Xbox has is Forza. That's
true.
all they have.
That's it.
For now until the rest of the games start dropping. Whenever that is.
Yep.
That's all they have.
Yeah. No. Totally agree. Like but here's something else that I want to bring up too. That's kind of crazy to me. The Series S didn't almost exist. The Series S, remember, I don't know if you remember, Smock, the Series S was going to be scrapped because when Xbox, when going into this generation, they went to developers and they said, we want to make two consoles. We want to make a powerful console, and then we want to make a console that's easier, that's more cost friendly. Budget friendly. Yep. And developers said, no, we don't like that because it's going to make things too complicated for us because we got to develop now to the specs of this other thing. Like what we're going to do
hardware.
Is we're going to develop to the specs of the cheaper hardware, and then we're just going to scale it up, meaning that you'll never get the best out of the more difficult. So then Xbox canned that for a while and said, well, what we're going to do, and a lot of people didn't catch this, but I catch it because I catch everything that Phil Spencer says. Phil Spencer said, okay, we're only focusing on one console because what they were going to do is they were going to have just the Xbox Series X, and then the S was going to be replaced by xCloud. And xCloud was supposed to be their answer if you wanted a cheaper experience with the X. But then they saw what Stadia could do. And then they realized, hold on, there is no way we can that's why Phil in that one infamous interview said, would you would you sell that? Meaning that he realized after what Stadia was capable of, there was no way in hell that they could make this the alternate decision or the alternate choice to the X. And thank God for Xbox that he thought that way, because the Xbox Series S is clearly the best seller.
Option.
Yeah,
it's not the best option. Well, it's not the best option. It's a better seller. Better
seller. It's the best. It's the best seller because the Xbox. Somebody was trying to make the case that the X is, is not in frequent supply and that's a bad thing. No, Xbox knows what they're doing. If you go to Best Buy, there's X's available because people that normally go to Best Buy want the bigger, techier things. And if you even go on Walmart directs you to Xbox All Access, where you pay like $34.99 for 2 years, and they'll send you an Xbox Series X. But beyond that, in some GameStops, they have them there, but it's not selling. They flooded the market with the Series S. So that tells you that PlayStation had the better business model. Well, in my opinion. But I'm going to turn it over to Smock. I'm going to shut the hell up and turn it over to Smock. Smock, who seems to you to be having the better strategy to reach gamers, and why?
PlayStation and Nintendo.
Okay. What? No Xbox? What? Oh, you're a hater.
Nah, this to for real. Like Sony. Like I keep saying every week, don't miss with their exclusives. They don't miss. It's like Xbox can try to clown as much as they want, but numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
Numbers don't lie. You feel me?
Yep.
And getting movie-like experiences from games, from video games, that is clearly the best option because people clearly want that. You feel me? Like Hogwarts Legacy. People are like, even though Harry Potter has nothing to do with Hogwarts Legacy, that's all people think about because they're getting that experience. They get to be a wizard. They get to fly around on a broomstick. Like people are excited to fly on a broomstick, bro.
Yep.
Like just exploring the world. Like, bro, like people, people love that movie like experience in a game. You feel me? And if you can nail that, people are gonna buy it. People are gonna, and people is gonna sell. If you know what you're doing, it's gonna sell. And then the reason why I said Nintendo is because Nintendo's Nintendo. Like they're the OGs in this game. If they drop something, they're gonna sell. Like I don't know what is going on with the Zelda thing. Everybody is it like a TV show? I don't know if it's a TV show or a game or something that's about to come out.
It's a game.
It's a game, yeah. Everybody's talking about Zelda now. Because everybody's excited about this new Zelda game that's about to come out. And I haven't seen no advertisements for the game. I'm just hearing this from other people talking about it. You don't get that. You get that where I see streamers talking about Hi-Fi Rush and everything.
Yeah. Yep.
Like outside of Twitch and YouTube, I don't see anybody talking about Hi-Fi Rush. But I'm seeing people talk about Nintendo. Like Nintendo is really good with getting people word of mouth. Like they really good at getting people to talk about it. Like I have friends at work and I don't know why there's so many people like this, but Nintendo is the type of company that even though Switch, they're the type of company to get people to come out and buy a bunch of Switches because it's a limited edition Switch. And they'll spend money for that limited edition Switch. And then they'll just have a bunch of Switches at home. Like, bro, like, that's a good business model. Xbox can do that. Not everybody gonna buy a bunch of PlayStations. It's like Nintendo is good at doing stuff like that. That's why they're good. They're the OGs in this game.
Yep. Like, and people are mad. I think a lot of that discussion too was behind the fact that the Switch is now going to start having $70 games, and that Zelda is going to be the first one. And people were like, "Oh, this is horrible." But here's the thing, and even though I don't agree with Jeff Grubb a lot, because he infamously was one of the pundits that tried to downplay Forspoken sales. And again, I'm not saying that Forspoken blew it out of the box or broke records, but the sales were stable. You know what I'm saying? They were they weren't excellent, they weren't superb, but they weren't weak or poor. They were stable. They were okay. That being said, Jeff Grubb had said that there's no way that Nintendo Switch, which is also a 9th generation console, just released earlier than its competitors. There's no way that Switch is going to say, hey, look, we got the most units out there. We got the best selling games, but our games are only worth 60 and their games are worth 70. No, they said they feel like that even though their games may not have the top notch graphics like the Xbox and the PlayStation games, they still feel like that their games are worth whatever the market value is for games. And that's why they're raising the price to keep up with the market value of games. So, whatever, and they're going to get away with it. I mean, we're going to complain about it, but they're going to get away with it. So, it is what it is. Sean got a couple of comments in here. He said, he says before, oh, no. Let me take that off. That was from the last discussion. He said,
$70 too. I think that was to the Nintendo, to the Zelda game.
Yep, $70 too. He says, and people still going to cop it. Absolutely. Yep. And he said, plus what they did with the vouchers, 2 games for $100 and Zelda. Oh, I didn't even know about that. Oh, shoot. Okay. Well, yeah. Well, then that explains it.
That sounds like a deal to me.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. You can't beat that with a stick. So, yeah. Xbox is, look, I think the moral of the discussion is Xbox's strategy just isn't working. It's making them money. It's making them more money than it did in the past. But the problem with that is when you're a publicly traded Fortune 500 company, you can't just make money, because making money isn't where your survival is based off of. Your survival is based off your stock. And if your competitors are making more money than you, then that devalues your stock. And if your stock is devalued, then that devalues your company. And if your company is devalued, one day you're going to be out of business. Now, I'm not saying Xbox is going out of business, but because of its because of its gaming market, it's really looking devalued. And that's not good. So the moral of the story is, maybe the best option for Xbox is to try to get out of this bargain bin mode and start going back to, yes, putting up the money to make good quality games and getting people in Xbox that know how to manage and ensure good quality games.
Exactly.
So, you know what I mean? Oh yeah, Ron Slusher in the house. Shout out to Ron. He says, remember when Neo Geo cartridges cost $200? Oh yeah, I remember that. Woo! Yeah. Oh man, brother. Those that Neo Geo, bro. You talk about premium? Oh man, that was like in 89, 90 when that came out. Those was wild times. 89, 90 when that came. And because what it was is the Neo Geo, back then there were certain graphics and gameplay that you weren't getting on your home console. And the Neo Geo brought the arcade style of graphics that you couldn't get on your home console. They brought them home. So I think the Neo Geo was like, what, $1,000 itself? And that's back in 89, 90. And I think the cartridges were $200 a pop.
What is Neo Geo? What is that?
That was like the makers of Darkstalkers, Neo Geo SNK, I think, or Neo Geo got absorbed into SNK. Neo Geo, they got a lot of retro games out there. Let's look it up. They got a lot of the retro games out there, but they used to be real big. In the here, let's show this. They used to be real big in the arcade market. They made Darkstalkers, I think, and then what else did Neo Geo make? Samurai Showdown, I think, right? SNK, yeah. Now it's SNK Neo Geo. So this is there was a bunch of Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot they did have a handheld. It was great. I mean, it was, look, don't get me wrong, it was some high powered stuff, like for its time. It was like blowing everything out of the water as far as what it was capable of.
Was it that device where you could play like the racing game? Like it was some racing game, you just dodged like going through traffic. Like you just had to dodge traffic. Was you able to play that on that handheld? Because I remember playing that.
You probably were. It was too expensive for me to even touch. I mean, my brother had got the Neo Geo and then he didn't want it. So his dad took it back like immediately. But
expensive.
Yep, the Neo Geo Pocket. I remember that. They were just so damn expensive. And gaming wasn't that big yet to where this would be successful. Back then it wasn't that big. Like, if you got 1 million sales, that was like the equivalent of Jesus Christ. That was the equivalent of what Grand Theft Auto has, which is 100 million. You know what I mean?
Right.
Back then. So gaming wasn't big enough to justify those costs. The Mega Man fighting game. Oh yeah, there was a bunch of stuff that was dope. They were dope. And they killed it. I think what it was, Smock, is these games killed it on the arcade market. Like people were putting a whole bunch of when arcade was a thing, and they thought that people would go and pay these prices to bring that experience home. When you look at it in totality, if you look at the whole year, because we would go to the arcade and we would spend anywhere between $10 to $20 at the arcade every Saturday. So how many weeks is there? There's 52 weeks in a year. So if you take 52 times 20, yeah, that's $1,000. Yeah, that's $1,000. But So how much? And I think the system wasn't 1,000. I think it was 7. So their thoughts were, well, if you're paying the $1,000 in the totality of how many quarters you bring to the arcade, why don't we just bring it to you? Nobody's going to pay that cost up front. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like we were paying $20 like once a week. You know what I mean? Sometimes 30, but nobody's going to drop 1,000 up front unless you paid like that. So that's why the Neo Geo didn't last too long. Digimon games. They're talking about a whole bunch of games that were out there. So it says, I think it did well in Japan and flopped here. Oh, okay. That's possible. Yep. Yeah. So cool
Digimon.
Stuff.
Damn, I remember Digimon, bro.
Yeah.
Off-brand Pokemon.
Yeah.
No, I'm just
yeah. Oh man. All right. Well, next on the docket is let's see here. Game Pass cannibalizes sales. This conversation is so comical to me because here's what's happening. Let me put all three of these links up here. So first, there's Game Pass was told to us by Phil Spencer that it helps spur sales. Then this thing from the CMA that's regulating this deal between Microsoft and Activision came out and said, oh, well, Microsoft submitted something different to us. And then Microsoft came out a few hours ago and tried to clarify what was going on. But here's the story. In November of last year, Phil Spencer came out and spoke to GameIndustry.biz and had commented that Game Pass leads to more game sales. And that was in response to, now again, understand the context. He answered that in response to, does Game Pass cannibalize sales? Meaning in general. Do they cannibalize sales in general? So his response is going to be taken as a general response. He said, well, Game Pass generates more sales. All right. So, however, info obtained from CMA seems to contradict what he said in that interview. MS told CMA that Game Pass actually cannibalizes game sales of premium games. I can't remember, during 12 months, whatever, something like that. Microsoft has since attempted to clarify their comments in this thing, which doesn't really clarify anything that they sent to GameSpot. And now we are where we are. So let me ask you this question, Smock. Here goes the very first article again that Phil Spencer came out with. He said, Game Pass leads to more game sales, right? And again, that was an answer to the overall arching question, does Game Pass cannibalize sales? And he gave that answer to a general question. Then this comes out. They had to admit that it does cannibalize sales. Then they tried to clarify it. Let me ask you now, Smock. Do you think that Xbox and Phil Spencer were purposely trying to deceive gamers with how they answered it originally? What do you think? Or do you think it was just a misunderstanding of the question?
I think Phil Spencer said that first. He said second. Okay, so Phil Spencer, he probably was trying to be optimistic. You know how people are when they're trying to present something. Oh, did this do that? Well, he's like, nah. It generates more sales. Then after some time goes by, and then the opposite happens. Now they gotta if they ask a quick somebody else the same question, somebody else probably was more honest. So I just think Spencer probably forgot to tell the boy hey, don't say this. You feel me? Because you can't tell them the whole truth, because now they're gonna happen. Where us, the public, we're gonna see, oh dang, it actually doesn't do what he said, and he was just probably over exaggerating on how good it was, so he don't look bad as a company, so he could say, yeah, this is a good business model. I didn't make no mistake. But he was trying to cap. He was trying to cap.
Yeah. Well, let me clarify with this though. So this is what he said when he said more Game Pass leads to more game sales. This is what he said to interviewers in the gaming public. The CMA are the regulators for different deals and stuff. So you can't lie to them. So many people feel that if the CMA was never involved in this and they didn't have to answer the CMA, that they would have never been forthright from the get-go. You know what I'm saying? And then they're like, okay, now that we had to tell the CMA this stuff and the CMA publicized this, and now we got to tell the truth. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to clarify some things, and we're going to say, well, there are examples of where Game Pass adds to more game sales, right? But that wasn't the question. The question was like towards the bigger games. Yeah, I think that this is the Microsoft double speak that gamers are victim to. Microsoft, you'll ask Microsoft one question and they'll find the right words, which a lot of, to your point, Smock, everybody does this. They're not going to say, yeah, it's horrible. You know what I'm saying? No, nobody does that. But it's just the lengths that they go to rephrase what they're saying to make it seem totally opposite, I think is the problem. I think if they would have said something like, look, if they would have said what they tried to say today, look, we offer gamers a choice, a cheaper way to interact with games. And there are instances to where we're seeing games grow. So we think that, and then we compensate companies very well.
Right.
Taking into consideration that our games are going into Game Pass, so people can have that option opposed to having to buying it outright. If they would have said that instead, this would be a non-issue.
I think a better question. I think a better question to ask, because, and to me, they should know if you're paying a subscription to play a game, you're not buying it.
Yeah.
Like that should be common sense.
Yeah,
to me,
exactly.
You know. But I think the better question would have been asked is, do publishers profit off of games being on Game Pass? That would be a better question. You know, then they'll have to really think about it.
Yeah.
You know?
And that, to your point, they tried to address that in this thing where they say, what did they say? They said Microsoft tries to help game developers make the most money they possibly can through Game Pass. Here's the problem with that. That again is doublespeak, because we just talked about Outriders. That's not true. Because with Outriders, you did not help the developers. See, this is a lie. It borderlines a lie. Because yes, there are instances to where when you're dealing directly with developers, you are helping indie developers make as much money. But when it comes to the publishers of these bigger games, you're dealing directly with them, and you're not ensuring that the developers are making money. And then here goes, and then they continue on. Microsoft cuts deals with developers and publishers on a title by title basis. The way that's structured, it makes it sound like that we're sitting down. It's the three of us. It's Microsoft, the developers, and the publishers. No, It's Microsoft and the publishers. Again, when you look at Outriders, the terms of which are not made public, which that's understandable. They say, given the scale of Xbox Game Pass, the custom financial arrangements for each game and all manner of the potential contributing factors, it certainly seems that some Xbox Game Pass titles would see their full game sales affected by including Game Pass. In other cases, however, game sales may grow over time thanks to being included in Game Pass. So yes, when you have a game like Pizzle Fizzle Pizzle Popper that nobody heard of, and it's in Game Pass for 3 months, and people enjoy it. They're like, oh, I never would have heard of this game. I want to keep playing it. That is an example of Game Pass helping to spur game sales. That's not where the big money is happening. The big money is happening with games like Outriders and other situations where where the publisher, right? You're negotiating with the publisher, and then the publisher, if they do a royalty deal that's based upon sales with the developer, then the developer's ass out. So in the common dynamic of how games work between publisher and developers, Game Pass isn't always ensuring that the developers and the publishers make money. That statement is again doublespeak. Xbox's goal is to get the games that they want in Game Pass the best way possible. They care less about anything else because they can't make good games, so they're gonna buy them. That's what it's all about. So that's just my rant. I'm sorry. But go ahead. You have any final thoughts on Game Pass cannibalizing sales?
No, not really. I think we got everything out.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, again, I think we all expect that. Yes. If I can rent the game, like if I can rent Hogwarts, I'm renting it.
Ooh, you playing it right now? Yeah.
I'm renting it. Yeah, and that's that. And of course, that's going to affect the sales of the game once Hogwarts is out because I've beat it. So there's nothing to buy, right? I'll probably beat it by then, and I'm done playing it. So there's nothing to buy. We get that, but I think the question is, it's not so much the third-party games. I think the question is really towards the Microsoft games, right?
Exactly.
Like, if again, and it goes back to my point that I was making earlier. If Game Pass has failed to reach the expectations that Microsoft had alluded to, then what is the point of putting these games that take 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 million to make, putting them in Game Pass? Because no one's buying them. So not only is Game Pass not generating money, but and guess what? You're creating this expense yourself, so you're in the negative totally when it comes to these games. So is it that you're no longer in the competition of creating great genre-defining games anymore? Because to me, that's the point of a console. I think that's what the consoles do greatest, is that they create genre-defined, like all the games that we're like, oh, we want to be like them. Those are console games. And if console makers are not making genre-defining games, then what's the point?
Right.
What's the point? I don't get it. But whatever. So, interesting stuff nonetheless. All right. Last topic before we cut on out is, and I don't know if you've seen gameplay of this, Smock, but I'm gonna put it on the screen. This game called The Day Before. Now, this is a game that is going to be multi-plat. It's going to be on a bunch of. Let me get out of here until this ad is going. This game is going to be multi-plat. It's going to be on a series of platforms, but it really made its name on PC. And it really made its name because of Steam. And Steam people saw this game and they started going crazy. Okay, here it goes. They saw this game and they started going crazy. It's like MMO. Well, no, I don't know MMO, but it's like a survival game. Kind of reminds you of like Division with some zombie survival things going on with it. And so it garnered a lot of attention, and a lot of people were actually waiting to play this game. It was supposed to
game?
Yeah, this is the game. So
ain't no way.
What's that? What makes you say that?
You don't. Ain't no freaking. Who is the developer of this game?
Fanatical.
You do Fanatical?
Yeah, they're like a new company.
Nah. See, my first impressions of this game is that's Ellie and that's Joel.
Oh, you think they ripping off Ellie and Joel?
Bro, she looks just like her. You cannot deny it. That's why I asked you, because I always come from like, is this the actual game or is this Last of Us Part 1?
Well, and that could be an inspiration. Last of Us could be an inspiration of it because it's a zombie game. Bruh. It is a zombie game, and yes, now that I've never even thought about that. Now that you think, especially looking at this demo, it puts you in the mind. And look, this is a basic element.
It looks good.
Uh-huh.
I'm not gonna lie, it looks good, but This looks like she looks just the back of her head has the
Looks
same
like
exact hairstyle as Ellie.
Well, here's the thing to consider. This game was supposed to come out first last year, and then now at the beginning of this year, and then it got pushed back again. It got pushed back.
Why?
Yeah, well, it got pushed back because they didn't trademark the title the day before. So somebody trademarked it before them, supposedly, and now they had to remove the game from Steam. So now it's not available on Steam. And now it's not available on YouTube. It's still supposed to be coming to consoles, but they pushed the game back all the way back to November of this year. And to your point, you had moderators of their Discord saying, you know what? We've never seen game footage of this game. We think this is fake. They think the game is fake. And then that prompted the game devs to come out with what you're watching now, which is footage of the game, which looks impressive. Don't get me wrong, but if you're a developer and you got access to Unreal Engine 5, I mean, you can quote unquote put something together. You know what I mean? Right. Excuse me. My son explains to me how it's easy for him, because I asked him, I said, son, what about, what do you think? And he's like, well, I mean, if you got people working on it, you can create all of this. He's like, there's not a lot going on in the demo. I said, yeah, that makes sense. And then remember too, Smock, remember we interviewed him on Cloud Dosage. Remember the guy that made the fake Star Wars game?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, remember he made that? So there's rumors going around that this game is not real. And now you think about it, oh man, I might have to change my pre-order plans.
Oh my God, that's funny.
So,
but that's just the first thing that I thought of when I seen this gameplay, because I didn't know that this was. I didn't know, like what they're saying. I didn't know that this was actually a real gameplay. I thought that it was this was like Last of Us, but now, like as they're progressing, and I've seen a glimpse of the lady's face. Now I can kind of see a difference, from the front of her face,
Yeah.
But
I mean,
the game looks. I'm not gonna lie. The game looks good. The game looks good. The game looks good.
Yeah. And of course, there's other game snippets too that people saw that made them like say, "Hey, this game looks real good." You know what I'm saying? There's other ones too.
At the same time, this world is empty. There's nothing going on.
Yeah.
This world is empty. Like there's not a lot of zombies. Like this whole time we seen her shoot one time.
Yeah.
At one zombie.
And you'll see a few more in a little bit, but to your point, and to what my son was telling me, he was like, well, Dad, I'm not saying it's fake, but what I'm saying is that there's not a lot going on. So there's not to say that the developers didn't just put something together for a demo. It happens all the time. Like you'll have people that are given 2 weeks to put together a E3 demo. You know what I'm saying? So, like, who knows? But the biggest problem with this game releasing, quote unquote, is the name wasn't trademarked, and people are saying, well, just change the damn name. You come up with something else. Why are you pushing? If the game was ready to come out in February, why are you pushing it all the way back? Like, can't you come out with a new name or something like that? I mean, unless you have like marketing materials that you've already spent a whole bunch of money on that you don't want to lose your money on, which I think that would be.
I hope they show the other character. Let me
see.
Like get a close, like have her get a closer look at the other character.
Well, I'm gonna move it along a little bit, see if we can see some more gameplay. Like when she goes into this one specific building, there is more game. You know what? Okay, there we go. When she goes in here, there was some more gameplay, but no, they're just following this character around. I mean, it could be a game. I mean, look, there's the generated movement where she's looking left and right. I mean, this could be for real.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, they got the yeah. She got movement. You know, they got
Yeah.
the thing when it's searching, all that stuff. They got the animation.
Yeah.
Doesn't look bad. The
No,
game
it doesn't
doesn't look
look
bad.
bad
I'm
at
just trying
all.
to figure out. What's the inspiration for the game, or like
It's
what's
like an
the
open
goal?
world zombie, like the zombies have taken it. Think of World War Z that came to Stadia. You think of World War Z that came to Stadia. It's supposed to be something on that lines. A combination of that and like the DayZ game and stuff like that. And it's
Cold blood.
really
You did it. You misinterpreted what I said. I was trying to say this game. The back of this girl's head. Seeing this, I thought she was Ellie. I didn't think that this was an actual different game. Like during the first 7 days in that little neighborhood, that whole neighborhood looked like a neighborhood that they took from
Last of Us. Yeah.
That's why I said that. Like, and then on top of that, the guy, he's sure that other guy had gray hair.
Yeah.
Just like
Joel. So he was trying to
why
say,
I
hold
said
on
that.
now, there's a little bit of ripoff going on here. And I see where there might be some inspiration taken from, but yeah, to your point, there's not a lot here. So I don't know. I mean, so let me ask you. Does this game seem suspicious to you? I mean, they were getting close to when the game was supposed to come out, and GeForce now even advertised this game. Like they've supposedly got a deal going where this game was coming to GFN. I mean, is it suspicious? I think this game was supposed to come out in January. What do you think?
I believe this is going to be the first of many games that we're going to see where there's going to be two people in a zombie world driving through so they could try to recreate and ride off the wave that's what it's doing. Yeah, they're just trying to advertise it because that's the way right now,
So you think the game is real?
It could be a real game. I'm not gonna deny that it won't be. I believe that it could be a real game. I believe that it could release. Is it gonna do well? Probably not. If this is all they have to offer, they don't have like a compelling story to actually compete, then they're probably not gonna do that well because that game doesn't look like it had a lot going for itself right there. I need to see more, before I decide to money at it.
Yeah. My son, me and him, we're gonna game share this game on PlayStation 5.
But look, it'll you could probably review it and make some money off of it. You know what I mean? You could probably review it just for that purposes, but one of those type of things.
I think it's just interesting that right before release the game has this trademark issue. I don't know what's going on, man. But hopefully this is a game because the more the merrier. Even games that aren't that great. I'm not against games being released. Even games that aren't that great, I don't have a problem with them releasing because then if the developers can look at their failures and go back and say, okay, this is where we messed up at. Let's create something better. You know what I'm saying? So interesting. But with that said, hold on. Cold Blood says, let's put his comment up here. He says, all the BS they showed before this was not true gameplay, and now it just looks like an empty division. So let me see if I can find some more day before gameplay. The day that's what the accusation is. Before we close out, I want to see some more. Well, YouTube is starting to delist stuff, so the day before downgrade.
Yeah.
Now they're saying there's a downgrade. Hold on, here. Let's check this out. Nah, this is somebody's channel. I can't do that. We'll get snagged. 12 days ago. Scam. I'm trying to find gameplay from. Okay, here it goes. All right. So I'm gonna show this, and then y'all. Oh, this is only 15 seconds. Jesus Christ. Oh no, it's not. I'm gonna show you guys this, and you guys tell me. And this is from a year ago. All right, so let's do this.
From a year. Okay.
This is from a year ago. All right. So let's look at this and see what everybody thinks about the game and how real it is now, opposed to the gameplay that we just looked at that's supposed to be from the game, real world assets. And I think this is what this got everybody so impressed with the game before. Or maybe, well, no, I'm not gonna play the volume because I don't want to get. All right, come on, can we show some action here? Okay, there goes Joel. There goes your Joel. Oh yeah, that does look like it. That does look like it.
I told you, he got that beard and everything. Funny. He even has a jacket, I think. No, just let me stop.
No, the game might be for real. But look at the reticle. Oh, no, that's maybe because it's a shotgun. Yeah, this is the trailer that I saw that was like, oh, shit. Might be something serious.
Like, I can see how this is like the Division. I can see it now.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Yeah. And I like games like that. I truly do like games
realism.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the Division because it has a lot of realism to it, you know, with the character and moving around and just like.
This game might be real. I don't see much difference. They talk about downgrade. I don't see. But I do see. Now that's different. Where
the world's like emptier. The world like emptier.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think this is cool. I like this, you know. So all right, well, I don't think there's much difference in the game. We'll see what happens, man. I just think it definitely is sloppy that they didn't trademark the game. That's kind of suspect. So, but,
yeah.
With that said, let's close on out. Great show, man, as always. Smart,
yeah,
can you let the good people know where they can find you at, brother?
Yep. You can find me on my file for yawning. I'm sorry.
Oh no, dude.
You can find me. You can find me on YouTube at X Samag Jr. X. I play a lot of racing games. I'm playing Destiny 2. Get ready for Lightfall. It's gonna take over the internet for at least a month. You know, you can see me on there playing Need for Speed, Gran Turismo 7, Destiny 2. You feel me? A little Spider-Man, Miles Morales. You know, trying to finish that up. And then eventually I'll get back to Forspoken when I get my game back for my friend. Because I'm sorry, if Forspoken can't convert a non-gamer to being addicted to a game, come on, that's you know.
Yeah. Again.
Yeah, it's a good. But yeah, man, catch me on YouTube. You can catch me on Twitter at N2OLA. And yeah, I can see me.
Yeah, I totally agree with Smart. You don't. The game is a good game. It's again they're trying to bypass the the different levels that you can rate a game. They're like, oh, it's horrible, it's trash, and all this other stuff. No, the game is a good game. I really enjoy it, and I think it's it's one that's worth a purchase. I get it though that people are going to play Hogwarts, and if they haven't gotten Forspoken, even if they got it, they may bypass Forspoken. I do think that in February, Forspoken's engagements, numbers, and stuff are going to drop, and not because it's a bad game, but because of Hogwarts. We talked about that pre-show. Like Hogwarts is just that big of a game, and I'm not, you know. Hey, look, if I'm in the playoffs, the NFL playoffs, and I lose to the Super Bowl champions, they take me out. You know what I'm saying? Hey, look, we lost to the champions. So even if Forspoken, you know, it's just Square Enix. Hopefully, they make a sequel, and next time they'll plan things out better. They'll fix what needs to be fixed, and they'll plan things out better. And then maybe there could be more Game Plus content that'll bring Forspoken back up. Who knows? You know what I mean? So
DLC content.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
We know based on how good Hogwarts is doing now, we know that might be a contender for Game of the Year. If nothing bigger comes out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So can't beat that with a stick. It did. I think it did well. It did well in the sales. Did it do phenomenal? Did it do fantastic? Did it do great? No, we're not saying that. And is it going to see a significant drop off next month? Possibly. But to underscore what it achieved, in addition to the fact that it was hammered the way that it was, it sold more than God of War, PlayStation's fastest selling game, only 2 months out, and it's only one spot under Elden Ring, which is one of the best selling multi-plat games out there. Like, stop it. You know, give it its props. It did okay despite the circumstances. You know what I mean? So
right.
All right. With that said, we appreciate everybody for coming through. Thank you so much. Until next time, have a wonderful, wonderful gaming day. Peace.
Peace.